Sponsors, partners, and beneficiaries, it gives me tremendous pride to provide an overview of the significant role that BREDS has been so honored to play due to the passing of Hurricane Beryl on July the 3rd, almost 6 months ago. Okay, I know I'm short, right? It had been 20 years since the last serious hurricane, and many thought it would have missed us. But hearing the name Treasure Beach being mentioned repeatedly on the Weather Channel, CNN, and Fox Weather was surreal and becoming very concerning. Before heading to bed the night before, I wrote a brief message to our Prime Minister. It has become evident that Treasure Beach will be badly affected and without communication. Please come quickly, as soon as you possibly can. It was the following morning at 11 a.m. when I saw him here right at the sports park land his helicopter. Within a few hours after that, my phone rang because very few calls were coming through, and it was Thalia Lynn, right? The chairman of the NCB Foundation. Thalia is a familiar voice in times of need. She was offering to match funds, and the following morning, I joined a call that my sister Justine and business partner set up with Michael Capone of GEM. Michael was a friend of Marlon Hill, Diaka Morrison, and Oliver Mayer, who said he would have a plane of supplies within 3 days on the tarmac in Montego Bay. He said it would have been loaded with 1,700 care packages, 15 generators, and 300 tarpaulins. We quickly formed a group of trusted souls, similar to what we did right after Hurricane Ivan. Each of these individuals knew every single district intimately, and we agreed on the approach of how to distribute, starting with Great Bay in the east and moving westerly. One of the joys of this journey was seeing Gina Mayer alongside young Lake Abrams, Lakey, typing hundreds of names of recipients into their phones for data collection. We distributed the generators to small cook shops among our 8 districts that would allow persons to charge their phones, one to the police station, the police training academy, and one right here at BREDS that was hooked up to a Starlink which allowed persons to communicate to their loved ones. The immediate and most important need was drinking water, some of which was generously donated by William Mafood of Wysinco within 3 days. A discussion with Minister Matthew Samuda, revealed that the NWC had 225 wells and had 43 generators, of which only 1 could be moved to middle quarters to serve the Black River Hospital and town, and that we were going to have to help ourselves. I turned to my new friend at GEM, Michael Capone, and asked if he could reach further into his pockets and to provide an additional $42,000, being half the cost of the generator, as I was sure I could hopefully convince NCB that they could match the purchase of the required unit. And I see Michael putting his head down. That generator was purchased at a cost of $84,000 US. Due to the support of Howard Ward, of Ward's Power Tools, we had water back into sections of our community within 7 days. Within a day of that, we would hear the cry, the needs of the residents of Great Bay and Flagaman, which was served by another pumping station in Little Park. The funding for a further $68,000 was needed for that second generator. This money came from the JHTA, Micro Meditations, and the Tourism Enhancement Fund. Witnessing the first generator being turned on and water flowing with my son Max, Michael Leachin, Sonia Leachin, Thalia Lynn, Floyd Green, and Dennis was a moment of joy that I will never forget for the rest of my life. The following week, we were invited to the launch of the NCB Matching Fund Initiative, and we're honored to know that BREDS would have been one of 4 NGOs originally selected to participate, along with Food for the Poor, United Way, and the American Friends of Jamaica. Michael Capone accompanied me to this launch after having breakfast with Joe Bogdanovich and Marcus Richards of H&L and Bruce Bicknell of Tanquil, who both offered to donate personally and to offer meaningful discounts and credit. Within a few days, a great friend, Liz Soames, had a discussion with Wendy Hart and Karen Chung of the American Friends of Jamaica, who agreed to immediately set up a window for persons to donate to BREDS, to donate to Treasure Beach via BREDS. With this in place, we reached out to our database of visitors to Treasure Beach over the years, and the response was truly overwhelming, ranging in contributions from $20 US all the way to $15,000 US. Within a short period, the news spread and others started to come forward with fundraisers and fundraising ideas, including a squash tournament, a pickle tournament, a pickleball tournament, a picnic and auction in Cape Cod, a jazz concert in New Orleans, a 5K in Berlin, and only 3 days ago, a 5K walk in London put on by Joshua Swaby, a young man originally from Lover's Leap. The generosity of Tanquil, particularly in the first month, was huge. At one point, we owed them $22 million, and I didn't have the first to give them. With roofing material in hand, we now had to move into how to distribute this in a fair and equitable manner. And it is here that BREDS director, Captain Dennis Abrahams, was able to draw on his extremely valuable, in-depth knowledge of thousands of residents who live in our communities. As our committee met daily, we discussed the logistics of unloading material, usually from 18-wheeler trucks, storage in the offices of the DMO, the Food for the Poor distribution, and right behind me here, the bread source. One night, so many trucks appeared that we had to send for Mas here his keys for the restaurant so that we could store lumber in there. He never hesitated. We have to thank so many of our community members who volunteered their time, alongside trainee constables of Batch 157 from the Tranquility Bay Police Academy, who worked tirelessly and never complained. We will remember Beda from Billy's Bay making a trailer from an old car chassis, and Kim with her younger sister Nana delivering material from early in the morning till late at night. By this time, my wife Laura and her friend Orla started to collect food items and clothing in Kingston. At one point, I could hardly get into my house in Kingston because it was so overwhelmed with food and clothes. We quickly became so overwhelmed that we had to ask the Treasure Beach Women's Group to coordinate this from their offices in Old Wharf. Food items also came from Seprad, CPJ, Price Smart, and mattresses and household appliances from a young Noah Azan. Justine had a particular concern about the elderly and vulnerable, and worked closely with Cecina, Kemar, and Celeste to expand the path list that was available from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. They did in-depth research in the field and expanded that list from under 200 names to over 400 names. Rebecca coordinated vouchers to the hardware stores and worked with Miss Norma, Kamar, and Lucy to assist 200 farmers with vouchers to farm stores, valued at $35,000, $65,000, and $100,000, depending on the size of their farm. I pause here for us to show appreciation, special appreciation, to Miss Sonia Leachin Where is she? Everybody who decided to support Deron Moxham, aka Chulu, a young farmer from Flagaman, with funding the purchase of adequate drip hose, irrigation tank, seeds and fertilizer to become a model farmer in his community. Thank you. Tamisha and Miss Norma then took the lead on education. That is their passion. And on each of the beaches, including as far down as Parity, to distribute 320 rows of fishing wire, including fishers even who live here but fish on the Pedro Key. Today, we are extremely pleased to have delivered roofing material to 513 homes, wire to 174 fishermen, vouchers to over 200 farmers, and assisted the 319 students get back to school. Those two generators have distributed water to close to 10,000 residents, and we could not have done this without this partnership. We are so proud that despite persons saying that Treasure Beach was overserved, we extended the support from the 8 districts in Treasure Beach to reach 33 districts. We could not have done any of this without you, our sponsors, partners, and volunteers. I want to thank the Jakes family for allowing me the space and the time to focus on the needs of our community for an extended period of time. And in particular, a Dinah and a Nikki who straddled both Jakes and BREDS. Another person I need to highlight is Oral E. Banks. The locals would know him as what? Buccaneer. Where is the Buccaneer? The Buccaneer is there. Let me tell you, Buccaneer is somebody who, he's the owner of Kingfisher Plaza, where despite us only renting 3 shops, he allowed us to turn over the plaza into what resembled more of a lumber yard than a plaza. Other occupants at Kingfisher, I must also say, they never complained. And they followed the very thinking of Oral, saying, once it is good for the community, we will fully support it. Right, Miss Joyce? And from a personal point of view, I want to thank my sister, my mother, wife, and 2 children, Say and Max, for being a tower of strength to me for the last 6 months. You heard me recall stories with tears in my eyes of joy and sorrow. You've seen me at my weakest and my strongest. You have seen me at my most vulnerable and my most victorious, and I thank you and love you very much.
We heard it from our chairman, and you see when he said if Buccaneer was here. Remember what I said about the women earlier? All right. So now we are going to